So I've been doing some organizing in here, and the big thing I've done, you can look at past videos if you want to, is that I'm reorganizing my space on this rack. Now before, if you recall, this bottom rack right down here that the buckets are on was actually up higher. So this space, that shelf wasn't there. And well, it was there, but it wasn't down so low. So what I basically did is I left these two top shelves, the first three top shelves I left them in the same place, so I can put trays on there without lights, covered trays if I wish. And then I took this shelf here that has the three trays on it right here, and dropped that down so that I can put the lights above and have more distance, because before the trays were all the same distance, like these threes up here. That distance was 1, 2, 3, and then, well, 1 and 2, and then two more trays the same height, 6 inches or so. And then the space got divided up down here for underneath storage and my bucket storage for seeds. And I could get into the seeds from the top of the bucket down here. But what I want to do is to set up 2 more growing racks with lights and make the space really useful before I had to put the lights on top of another shelf, and they can only grow so tall. And so I'm thinking about building a hydroponic setup here where I can bottom water the barley and the wheatgrass with a system that I can cycle water on and off and feed it water more often. I think that the limited growth that I've had in these trays, and you can see them a little closer here, that so this has been growing now for about a week, and these really should be ready to harvest by now, and they're not. And I think it's because I'm not watering often enough. So the barley is on either side, and then the wheat is in the middle. And then these are the ones I started, I think a week and a half, probably 2 weeks ago. This is buckwheat and peas. These didn't actually really root very much. You can kind of lift these up out of the, they didn't really intertwine and give a really good root base. So, which actually might be a better way to eat the roots. I could break them apart and give them to the animals. Because the problem with if you go and look at the food, the fodder videos, the people, this bottom mat would be really thick with roots, but you have to break it up for the animals to eat it. They can't bust it apart. The chickens will probably just peck on it till the ends of the earth and be very happy. But this is wheatgrass over here, and this wheatgrass I planted on a little layer of coconut cure, just to see how it does differently with growth. Just as a little experiment. So I set up my 2 levels up here. I don't know if you can see them. It adjusts. But I got the 4 seed starting mats on these 2 levels. So if I want to keep them warm in January when things really start to heat up, That's what I could do, is put them up there to get them started. So the other thing I did was that this circuit is actually on a timer. Over here in the corner, where this is a timer, and so it could be on for 12 hours on, 12 hours off. But I had it wired so that it affected all the lights. So now what I could do is turn off this switch, and then these lights that I have covered, these trays that I have covered, the lights don't have to be on for. And then these trays over here, the lights will be on for. So that'll cut down on, you know, electricity and so forth. So that's a nice update to the room. So, little by little. These are my cut blocks. As you can see. These would be basically well, obviously those aren't the four together, but that's the one block that I would get from Home Depot, and then I would use my chop saw to cut them up into 4 blocks. It's a little more manageable, and it's, you know, one block is like $22, $23, but if you buy them in the small bricks, those are about $9. So it's very much worth it to buy it this way and to cut them up than it is to buy the smaller bricks. So what I'm thinking about doing over here is putting a pipe across the back of this shelf, and this shelf as a drain. And I'm going to have holes in it, you know, that a small drain out of the white tray will fit into. So I'll put some kind of bulkhead fitting, or maybe a grommet with a little short piece of half-inch pipe in it that I can fit into the bottom of the tray in the back, and that'll go across the whole length. There'll be 4 holes with a cap on one end and a slight tilt to this side. Come out over here and go down into a bucket that'll have a pump on, and then on this side I'll tilt the tray up a little bit with a shim or a pipe or something, so that the water will feed into this part across here and travel through the tray and then drain on the back side. And then I can pump the water through the system and feed water into the tray, so the tray gets more. I'm not sure if right now, see, I have water in the tray, so it can bottom feed. And it's developing somewhat of a root system. So I'm thinking that will actually help promote more growth throughout the whole pad. I'm up for suggestions if anyone has any ideas. But I noticed that some people, that when they grow their fodder, their term of the fodder, which is, to me is microgreens for livestock. It's a soilless mix. So what they do is it roots into this kind of a root system, and then they break it up into strips or cubes and feed that to their livestock. And but some people, they do is they'll end up with a clump that's really quite thick, 2 inches thick clump of root base. And I think it's that thick is because they really put a really thick layer of sprouted seeds into their tray. Probably like 1.5 inches thick base. And they don't all sprout. You know, you're only going to sprout is going to be what's on the surface. So what it's using is the seeds that sprouted in the beginning, but they didn't sprout after that because they're all covered over by other seeds, so they're not going to get sunlight, which is what's going to promote them to green and sprout. That they actually become the soil base for the top seeds to root into. And that's why they get such a large, tight mass, because, you know, essentially it's rooting through the soil, like my mats do for my my microgreens, which I can show you in a second. So by going with a thinner layer like this, you know, the livestock is going to be able to better process, to better chew this type of a root system than they are with a system that's this thick. So that's my theory, and I'm more than happy to hear people's input about it. It's all new to me. So at any rate, I like to stick with these kind of tray. I might just not do the black tray and just go with the white tray and have a drain hole on one end and then feed it into the system from this end and have it travel across. I could keep this tray and end up with it in this way, so that way it doesn't overwater itself. Well, I mean, once I have it figured out, it's easy to use, whether I use a black tray and a white tray or just a black tray. I mean, the thing is that I could bring this to a customer in the white tray, in the trays, and then get the trays back when they're through with them. The black trays cost less money than the white trays, so it would be better to have the black trays, you know, in some kind of a recycle program than the white trays. So if anyone has any ideas for a water circulation, I'm more open to listen to you. As always, I'm always listening. I have to bring these trays out. You see, this is with the coconut cure, and the radishes are kind of loose, but some of them are tighter than others. The peas really kind of build up a root system in there. I should bring them out today while it's warm out, but yeah. So I mean, they use the coconut cure to create their root base, and I think that the people that are making the really thick fodder is because they're using the seeds to make their root base, which is really a waste of seeds, you know, in some extent. Here's a little shot of these are about ready to be uncovered. They're not all ready yet, so. Scale, we're going to tar it out. 0, So what I'm doing is 3 ounces tray. I'm gonna go with 4. Let's see what 4 looks like this time around. We're gonna go 5 ounces. On the peas. And 3 ounces. Pardon me, boys. It's a Chattanooga choo-choo. Hallelujah. I'm doing 3. I think I'm going to do 4 ounces. Because I only want 4 trays of sunflowers. I seem to have more seeds with me this time, so I'm going to go 4 ounces. I tell you, this is a better way to do it than just guessing. Until I was shooting video, I was just guessing. And then corn seed. I just do a little on my corn. We're going to do about 1 ounce of corn. Corn can kind of overpower everything. So, corn is kind of a tease. Somebody put some sunflowers in with the I thought that this was supposed to be I guess I'm just doing 3 trays of sunflowers. I was supposed to be doing 4 trays of sunflowers. We'll see how that does. So I knock the seeds down into the water. The water tension sometimes causes them to float. And the sunflowers, they always float. So knock them all down so they're all saturated with water. Increases their chances of getting ready for germination. And then the last thing I do whenever I'm soaking seeds is I always put something on top. And the only reason why I do this is because otherwise my cats think it's a some fangled new fancy tropical dessert. So to keep them from drinking the water, I put a cover over the seeds. And that's about that.